It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you've been mixing for years, EQ is probably the most overwhelming thing on your mixer. But turns out there are actually a few simple EQ techniques that can really improve your sound without having to become an EQ master. So go ahead and relax because I'm about to make EQ really simple, but don't let that fool you. These tips hold the power to make your mix sound like a pro is sitting behind the mixer.
Before we get started, we just want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Church Sound Made Simple. Mixing sound seems complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Cut the overwhelm by getting access to this stress-free, no-fluff training that will help you create great sound at church. Visit churchsoundmadesimple.com.
Well, hey, if we haven't met, I'm Cade, creator of Collaborate Worship, and I'm here to help you create great sound at church. So let me give you some simple EQ techniques that also turn out to be the most important when it comes to creating a great mix. Now, first up is the EQ golden rule. When you're looking to get more clarity out of a vocal, your first thought might be boost the high frequencies, but don't do it. Instead, let your first thought always be, what frequency range can I cut to solve this problem? In other words, to get more clarity out of a vocal, you need to remove what's making it unclear, which happens to be the low frequencies. So you cut this out with a low cut filter at about 120 hertz and voila, you fix the problem. So the EQ golden rule is simply this: cut frequencies before you boost. Of course, there are times when boosting is the answer to your EQ problem, but when it comes to live sound, you're going to cut way more often. Now, one of the most important things I can tell you about EQ is to keep it simple. Just because you have 4 filters available for each channel does not mean that you should use all of them. Every EQ setting should be well thought out and used to solve a specific problem. If there's not a frequency problem, then no need to use EQ. Now, I know I just told you to be stingy with your EQ filters, but there's actually one place that I recommend using EQ every time, and that's to put a low cut filter on vocals. Start by activating the low cut filter and setting the frequency to 120 hertz. If it still lacks clarity, move the frequency up, but you most likely do not want to go higher than 180 hertz on a vocal low cut filter. The goal is to get a nice clean sound from the vocal that still has plenty of warmth and power. Now, the frequency placement may be slightly different for each vocal, but it's going to land somewhere between 120 and 180 hertz. Putting a low cut filter on all of your vocals is going to make a huge difference in your mix. It's also helpful to have low cut filters on your instruments. The frequency placement is just going to be different for each of them. So instead of explaining it on video, I actually put together a low cut filter cheat sheet with all the recommended settings. You can download it for free using the link in the description. For pretty much every other type of EQ issue you need to solve, there's one method that'll help you solve it every time, and it's called frequency sweeping. For example, let's say that you're having problems with a vocal still lacking clarity after you've applied a low cut filter. You may not know which frequency range is causing the problem, but you can easily find it with frequency sweeping. So let me show you what I mean by fixing a vocal with this very problem. First, activate a peaking filter, often called PEQ. Set the filter's gain to plus 9 dB. Set the Q value to 4. And then while the vocal is singing, use the frequency knob to slowly sweep through the full frequency spectrum until the problem area really stands out.
My God made me a promise and it won't stop now.
Now that you've found the annoying frequency range, go ahead and cut it using the EQ filter's gain control until you've achieved the desired result.
I see a miracle. My God made me a promise.
And that's it. Use your low cut filter generously and then use frequency sweeping to solve any problems you're having. And don't forget the EQ golden rule. Cut frequencies before you boost. In other words, when you're having a frequency problem, your first thought should always be, what frequencies can I cut to solve this problem? I hope this took the overwhelm away for you when it comes to EQ, because it really can be that simple. Don't forget to download the low cut filter cheat sheet. You'll find a link in the description to that. As always, if you have questions, drop them in the comments and I'd be glad to answer. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, just give me a thumbs up to let me know. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the little bell so I can let you know when the next video comes out. And I'll see you next time.